Madam Clerk, are we clear? All righty, we will call this meeting to order. Good evening, everybody, and we'll begin the evening with public comment. We have one person signed up, Mr. Joe Black, and I know you know the spiel, but just name, address. Yeah. And your 3 minutes will begin when the clerk's ready.
Joe Black, I live on Howard Gap Road. I'm going to talk about phones. I almost hit me head on. I was want to make a left-hand turn in the center lane. He come barreling down the road, got over. My first thought, he's going to turn. My second thought, he's going pretty fast. Then I braced for impact and hit the horn, and he swerved. Smiley went by on his phone. I'm perturbed about all the phone use on the road. I think it's extremely dangerous, and I can't help but think something's about to happen. And I don't think we want to be recognized as where everybody wrecks on their phone in Fletcher. Okay, that's it now. And where do we stand on the mural project?
I'll say,
Amber's on the committee, so.
I think they're still waiting on the grant
Okay,
information.
I'm just curious, okay. Well, that's it for me. Short, quick. Adjourn and go home.
Thank you, Joe.
All
Thank you,
right.
Joe.
thank you.
I will give one update on the
Sure.
mural if y'all would like that.
Sure.
I had Jabo, and this is just a right-of-way clarification. I know the wall down by the foam and fabric, there was some question about whether the wall was part of the private property owner there or DOT, and apparently it does encroach into the DOT right-of-way. And he reached out to DOT about, like, will DOT grant permission? And their short answer was no, they wouldn't allow it, but if you really wanted to press the issue, we can, like, apply or appeal or request, like to a Raleigh level type thing. So I did reach out to Karen Eve, the lady with Steep, and she said they would, of course, we're interested if we can try and push it, and I haven't had a chance to appeal that up or request higher up the chain there with DOT on it, so. But no other updates on that, really, so, yeah.
All righty. And that brings us to the end of our public comment period. We'll move on to council updates if there are any. Any updates? All right, hearing none. There's 2 items on the consent agenda. Any questions or comments on those? All right, moving into our discussion items. Next week, we'll have a public evidentiary hearing for a special use permit for Focus Plus Academy. So we'll be looking forward to that. You have anything for that ahead of time, Mark? Are we good
Yeah,
there?
I don't anticipate you're going to have much discussion on it
Yeah.
or opposition. It was
Some of the
unanimous
existing,
by the planning
yeah.
board. They're essentially get a lease at the Methodist Church.
Yeah, the
There are
space
2
that already exists,
classrooms,
yeah.
that are already in there to this school, and it's about 25 students.
Yeah, I think that's what it said, capped
Middle school,
at
high school
6 through
age.
12, yeah.
I'm not clear on the, I think it's a special kind of niche school, not that that matters on the type of school, but I think with kids with learning disabilities or something like
Okay,
that.
yeah.
But it was unanimous by planning board, and probably the biggest question y'all might have is about parking and.
I saw where they were in the office.
Yeah, and the peak times between, because they have the preschool there,
Yeah.
during the week, and then the pickup drop-off for this school, if this is approved and goes in, would not conflict with that. And there's plenty of parking spaces
Yeah.
on the back
Yeah.
there. And it's usually, teachers there during the day.
Yeah.
So.
Won't be too many.
Okay.
All righty. Any other questions, comments on that item? All right, we'll move into discussion. Why don't we do discussion item number 6 and 7, just explain all together. They're kind of
Yep,
similar.
I'll run through it real quick. So the garbage truck, that was an item in year one of the new five-year CIP. And we have to ask you to do a budget amendment just to approve the capital purchase on it. Our plan, and we will apply for financing on that, and it's a short-term financing, no more than 3-4 years on it. Once that goes in, we'll get the loan proceeds to pay for the expenditure of purchasing the truck, and then it'll be on that payment schedule for several years until it's paid off. And we do short-term financing, just to get it paid off quicker,
Right.
and also to avoid having to get local government commission approval, so it's just a simpler process.
Sure.
But that's the garbage truck. And then the street sweeper, and the amount on the garbage truck is, the budget amendment will be 400,000. It was like 380 some on the, 391 on the quote. It's in the packet, the exact amount. And that'll cover, if there's any incidentals about that.
Sure.
And then the other item is on the street sweeper, and as you recall, the street sweeper was totaled in an accident. It was rear-ended on 25. We got loan proceeds, or not loans, excuse me, we got insurance proceeds back from it being totaled. So we do have, and I think it was like $40-some thousand, so it was a decent chunk, even though something like this costs several $100,000 to replace.
Yeah.
So the quote on that came in at $235,000 on it, and so our budget amendment on it, and this is coming fund balance appropriated. Of course, we got some fund balance offset by the insurance proceeds payout, but it would be $236,000 to do it. And it still doesn't put much of a dent in our unassigned fund balance on this.
How much was it again,
Didn't
200
we
and what?
discuss?
Pardon me?
How much was it again, 200 and what?
236,000 will be the budget
Total.
amendment. Total, yes.
How much did we get from the insurance company?
It was 40,
So
I can get you the exact amount if you want to know. It was-
Just
all
over
we got.
40,000, somewhere around there.
It's 40.
I knew it was
Is it
We
over
got
40.
more than we
Yes.
thought we would, we really did.
Yeah,
So it's older, yeah.
Yeah, so
It was- it was
I see
older,
what
right?
you're saying, so
Yeah.
Depreciation.
40,000, yeah. Oh, yeah, because we've had that thing since like 2006.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
I
yeah, it's 20 years
remember
old,
being
yeah.
here. I was not long ago. Yeah.
I think
All
it
things
didn't even
considered.
have, it had less than 30,000 miles on it because of where they drove it. You know,
Yeah. That's
right.
how
But
others
it
do
was well used. I
Yes.
mean, we, not only our town streets, but we help, some of the DOT,
25,
like 25.
yeah.
Right.
To keep that looking
Good,
nice, yeah. So, yeah, I don't know if there's any question, and they were both competitively bid. We can do some things, a piggyback, which is where another group has competitively bid that same piece of equipment, and the other is through this collective purchasing, like North Carolina Sheriff's Association has a source, and then we have some others where state contract, things like that.
Yeah.
But these they meet our public procurement general statute requirements for equipment purchases over the dollar threshold of 90,000.
Okay. Do you have a question,
Yeah,
Keith?
weren't we discussing leasing that out instead of having our own street sweeper at some point? Remember after the accident, we talked about just maybe hiring that out and not having the equipment anyway.
Contracting, yeah.
Because it was dangerous being out on Highway 25 like that. I mean,
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So Jabo did some research on it, and it was so far away, the closest place, it was contracting out to do it. I don't think leasing the piece of equipment.
no, I mean, yeah, contracting the whole job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the next closest vendor was like Charlotte, or someone really far.
Yeah, it's not.
And it wound up, by the time we're paying the fees to do them and the travel,
Yeah.
that we felt it was more economical to own the equipment
that makes sense.
and do that. So,
Well, I suggest just putting these two items on consent agenda unless we have
I'm
any
moving that.
questions,
Right.
comments, we all
That's what I was
good?
gonna ask you about, see if we can.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would suggest you do that. I just wanted to put them on there, both for y'all to see that, just give a little more background on it before we move, in case you had any questions on that.
Okay. Well, sounds good, and we'll get that approved next week. Appreciate y'all working on that. And then moving on to item number 8, the report on performance measures.
Okay, so it's been some time since I had reported on our established performance measures that we set up a couple years ago, and so we looked at a 6-month reporting period, and in the beginning of the memo here, I have an error. I said January through July. It's January through June of 2026. And so in the report here, I've got summary data by department for the established performance measures. And if you want, I can run through that. I'll try and hit highlights without spending too much time on this, or as much time as you want. This does not contain the raw data. I try and condense that down and summarize it and give you the highlights here, but it does cover each of the performance measures. So within finance, there's several things. One of those is bank reconciliations and trial balance being reported within 5 business days of the end of the month. And the reason it's important to report that on a timely basis, and we try and do it monthly, is to, well, number one, make sure we know our revenues and expenses are being reconciled, and we don't get behind on that, and reconciling the bank statement to our financial software. And then the other is, when you do the trial balance, which is just, it's a revenue and expense report, budgeted versus actual, to monitor that. And if, you see that, hey, we're getting way over on overtime with police, that, we meet with the chief and see, well, what's going on here, or if we need to dial something back on travel and training or some other. Same thing with revenues, to make sure we're monitoring that. So we hit 100% on that. Heather does a good job, and other staff in our office, of getting that reconciled, getting that issued, and I review all these reports too, and you get a copy of the trial balance. It's that one I put in your mailbox every month. So that was 100% on it. The next one was about fund balance, and our fund balance policy is keep between 45 and 65% as a percentage of general fund expenditures. So the goal on that is to let you know if we're over, we're supposed to report, and so we did back in February. I had indicated in here pay down debt, but that was one of the options. It was several things that we listed to you. So we did that in February. You all tabled it because of the library joint project with the county coming back up and considering that excess unassigned being dedicated to that, or some portion of it. So that was on fund balance reporting, and then the last one was about and this is all within finance, about the audit and financial statements. And so the goal is to have the financial statements prepared by early October. We had them done by October 13th, and then the audit firm completing the audit by December 1, and we had that by November 13th. And then we have to have it approved by the LGC. I don't have the date in here, but it was approved before the December 31st deadline. So that was finance. And next was town clerk performance measures. And first was on agenda packets being complete and sent to y'all at least 4 days prior to council meeting. And that we got 100% compliance on that for the 6-month period. The next was minutes being completed and posted online within 5 business days. We got 100% on that. And then moving into Public Works, we have a bunch in here, and it's related mostly solid waste issues and fleet maintenance. But the first was about percentage of municipal solid waste diverted to the landfill for recycling. We haven't established a percentage on that. Maybe we'll shoot for 20 in a future report. It's kind of varied all over the place there. The last time I had shared a report with council, it was like we were hitting like 19%. But obviously, the goal here is to try and get as much as we can to go to recycling versus going to the landfill, general municipal solid waste. So we hit an average of 18.78%, which is pretty good. We have about a 75% participation rate with our residents, which is good. So we'll need to continue to look at ways that we can encourage and try and boost recycling so we can get more tonnage going to recycling. The next measure was about resolving complaints within a certain period of time with brush and leaf collection. So it's 95% of brush and leaf collection complaints resolved within 5 business days. And just, we don't get many, so that's why we try and keep the threshold real high like that, and it's 95%. We had 100% of reported complaints resolved within 5 business days. The next was about maintaining an availability rate of 90% for all fleet serviced by the department. And they do a very good job of quickly getting the repairs done and back on the road. So we didn't dip any lower than 99.8%. So we hit that threshold. The next related to that is that 90% of the fleet repairs, so when a department brings equipment there, rolling, vehicles to be serviced or repaired by Public Works, that it's done within 3 business days, or it's what we strive for, and we hit 99% on that mark for the 6-month reporting period. Then next was on garbage routes, having 100% of the garbage routes completed on schedule. We hit 100% on that. And just, and Jabo, I know, has talked about this before, and the next one's about missed collections, but we have cameras on the garbage trucks, and sometimes we'll get people call and say, you missed my trash collection, and they'll go back and check the cameras, and because they got the date, and they didn't put it out in time, and that's why it was missed.
Yeah.
Because we don't go back and pick it up if you don't put it out on time, and that's, so, and they usually then are like, oh, well, maybe I put it out.
Late. for the-
Yeah, I mean, and they have missed stuff, no one's, perfect on this, but they do an excellent job of doing a thorough route collection, so, I mean, once in a while it happens.
On your, one of your performance measures and achievements, I had a question that Jabo's okay with it right there. I know it's got 90% complete within 3 days. Is 3 days enough? I know they've been doing it at 99% of the time, but I thought 3 days was short, because sometimes you have to order a part or something like that, and next thing you know, it messes up their performance numbers.
Yeah, right now it is, but that's a good point, because.
Maybe 5.
Yeah, do we need to move it to a different number? Have we
Yeah.
talked to Jabo? I'm just thinking
Yeah.
about messing up his numbers, because if he's had to wait for parts, because
Yeah.
everybody here knows how
I mean,
parts are.
right now, we're hitting it.
Yeah, you're doing great, 99%.
So
Dang good for.
They thought that-
I'll talk to him about that.
That's the dates right there. I know our fleet
Yeah.
manager, he would never meet that, because of this parts
Yeah.
that they ordered.
They do such a good job on it, but he did indicate parts delays is the big, and like, we had one where it was like 5 days, but we had so many where it was completed within 3 days, it didn't skew it much, because, I mean, you can still see that it was
Oh, it does great. I
99%.
just figured a 3 days.
So right
They might
now-
dig into something and find something else, like, oh gosh, this thing's gonna be down for longer.
It's a good point, I'll bring it up with him, but it seems to be,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's a good question that we're able to do it, but if we need to adjust it, we will. I mean, I want to, we've kind of tested this, and so far, we're doing a good job of hitting it, and it's a high standard, but they already had a high standard of service as far as doing these things efficiently, quickly, thoroughly. So this is just, part of this is just staying on task on it.
I guess we could probably look at it, if it looks like
Yeah.
it's fallen below that, falls
Yeah.
a number of days
Yeah.
out of his control or their control, we might can adjust
Yeah,
the
tell
dates.
him not to hesitate if that becomes a bigger issue to
Yeah, yeah.
say something.
Yeah, I wanted to make these attainable, but still a little bit challenging, just to, stay on task on doing these things for service quality, for information, getting out quickly to the public and so forth. And it's a bit of a pain, I know, to track this, but we've kind of got some good systems. The hardest part was starting this. Now
People are
it's
starting.
not as hard to monitor it, but it's work. And then that last one, which was related to what we were just talking about, missed collections per 10,000 scheduled stops, and we had 0. The last reporting period I talked about, we had one anomaly in there that threw it off a little bit, but they were still pretty close. It was like one half a street was missed. It was a strange thing that happened. So, but they're doing a great job, I think, of hitting these, and so I really commend them, all our staff, on doing these things. The police department, unless you have any questions on public works, I'll move into them. And theirs is a little bit more broad, based on some of the goals that we established in here, working with the chief on this. And they have the goals of engaging the community, providing quality, progressive, professional police services, and then empowering the department's personnel to perform at their highest capacity. So looking at goal 1 on engaging the community, the baseline was about percentage of citizens satisfied with police services we haven't been doing the biennial. They thought about creating their own just for public safety, and we might do that.
So
If you want
the
us to.
percentages right there, where'd that come from?
That was from that national community survey
So
that we
it's
did in 2023.
2 years old, I guess?
Yeah, and I know y'all didn't want to be doing that every 2 years, every 3 years, just out of cost and is it necessary and so forth. Yeah, they hit really high rankings from that, and that's those percentages there about safety and, these perceptions from the public. So that's where they ranked last, and so they share that in there. And then they've got some more specific things in here relative to engagement with the public. One of those that Chiefs worked on is increasing social media presence. So they got a chart on the next page about, the number of followers, and you can see how that's ticked up on different social media, but Facebook is one of the biggest ones. And so, we're getting more engagement and getting people, finding out information from there. So that one has been good. Introducing the CID, which is that Criminal Investigation Division, Detective Division, assignment letters. And you can see how that ticked up. Now, remember the last column that's the current year. So, we don't know the full data on that as it compares to prior years, but that's something they've had to start doing, but they've been doing a good job on getting that out to these victims of crime. And then the next was completion of annual department-sponsored fundraisers. So that was another engagement thing. So they've been doing these, like No Shave November. We did the basketball game over at Veritas, which was a hit. And so you can see the dollar amounts that have been coming in here over the last 4 years. And so it's been a nice engagement thing to help a nonprofit and engage with the public on it. And then increasing the number of community engagements, and this was through things like crime prevention presentations, these church security briefings that they'll do, home business security surveys, coffee with a cop, making presentations at HOA meetings, and then just, presence at like park events. And so they, list these number of engagements in all those categories, and you can see how through 2022 through 2025, how that's ticked up on activities that they've been doing. And then under Goal 2, which is Quality Progressive Police Services, I wanted to look at the annual crime index, is officially reported every July for the previous year. We take some of the crime index stuff with a grain of salt, because sometimes crime index reports can be all over the place. We will take some credit that it's dropped, and they've had several years where the crimes per 1,000 or 100,000 has fallen for us, and I definitely would give our police department some credit for the proactive things they're doing out there. And,
They're pretty proactive.
yeah, to help reported crimes fall. So that's kudos to them on that. Then the number of directed patrols of checkpoints, saturation patrols. You see that's fell a little bit. It's hard to tell how much on track they are for this year. It does seem down a little bit. So I think maybe some of that right now is we were almost at full staff here for a while. We've lost a few.
Asheville's,
So,
I've heard, is
yeah,
Lost a few
and
of
the
our
sheriff's
folks.
department, they
Yeah.
go there, and so that's made it a little bit harder as of late into this year, this fiscal year. So the next thing on staffing versus authorized staffing, actual staffing versus authorized staffing, and number of three-man shifts. So this chart is a little busy here, but basically you want your the dark blue bar to be as low as possible. That means there's more three-man shifts being covered, or 3 officer shifts. We have 3 per shift. Normally, it's the sergeant and 2 patrol officers, but that becomes challenging, obviously, once training, people out sick, but the biggest thing is vacancies, if we have vacancies. And you can see it improved because we got our vacancy rate down really low, up to 2025, and 2026 so far is not bad, but so we improved on that because we've been able to be more fully staffed. And let's see, then percentage of felony packets completed within 10 days. So the goal is to do that within 10 days. And the DA's office wants them within 14 days. So we strive to do it a little bit sooner than that. And you can see they're able to hit the DA office goal of the 14 days fairly high through the last 4 years, as high as 92% right now in 2026, and hitting up to 62% on that 10-day goal, which is still pretty good. And I like that, the chief's having our officers strive for a faster turnaround of that felony packet.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, Jim knows, so there's a lot of documentation has to go in when they submit a felony packet to help the DA in a prosecution on a case. So, it's an important part of policing. Let's see, and then going into some of the things on goal number 3 was, empowering the department's personnel to perform at their highest capacity. And some of this is training related. So increase officer training, so number of in-house training hours. And kind of dropped off a little bit, you can see from 2023 to 24 and 25, started coming back up. Not sure for 2026, because it's a little premature here, but continuing to strive to provide training opportunities, and as much as we can do in-house. And then average number of supplemental non-in-house training officers, training hours per officer. And that was a little bit all over the place here. We had that one outlier in 2024, because that's when our Detective Sergeant Diaz went to that National Forensic Academy, but continue to try and push for those non-in-house hours, which could be like classes at the Western Justice Academy or things like that Southern Police Institute that we hosted here. Things, there's all kinds of additional outside police training that are available to law enforcement officers. And then percentage of officers receiving, it's something we had, it's called crisis intervention training, and something we hadn't had a focus on as much, and the chief started that, and so you can see the uptick, get more people getting CIT trained. And then number of training hours on tactical operations like active shooters, in-progress crimes, and did pretty well making emphasis on this in 2024 and 2025. Not sure how we're going to land completely in 2026. So again, success indicator here, increased hours in training. That's kind of it for the police department. If you turn the page, Parks and Rec, we haven't really established really big performance measures for programmatic things, but the appearance of the park has been the main one in here. And so we've asked our Parks and Rec Advisory Board members to participate in this, because obviously it's a subjective thing, and if staff were to do it, they're gonna, you're not gonna give yourself a really low rating on that.
So they're the ones that did the excellent, good,
Yep.
fair, and poor.
Yes, that's
my
correct.
question. I was kind of curious who did it. Thank you.
Yep. And you can see they scored well. We didn't have anything into the fair, poor cat, but so it's looking at things like edging, line trimming, weed eating, the flowers, shrubs, trees, litter at the park, overall cleanliness, the bathrooms. The bathroom's probably the lowest one on there, but my goodness.
Is that
Our bathrooms
Very
get a
used.
lot of use. It's a challenge.
That's
Yeah,
probably,
I
the
think-
one- that's probably the one thing I've had people ask me about is to
Yeah.
offer another facility more spread out where it's a little more accessible, maybe around by that dog park or something where people don't have to come so far over.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say, I think the bathrooms, actually, all things considered, they look,
Good.
and I work in this profession, so I think they look pretty dang good, actually, considering
Yeah.
how much they're used.
Thank you for that feedback.
Yeah.
I think they do a good job of keeping up. It's a challenge to keep up because the sheer volume of
Yeah,
traffic.
there's a lot of people, and it's
through
gonna
there.
happen, yeah.
Is it, also, I was going to ask was, because I know we had to fix one of the lines there or something, that had some
Yeah.
problems. Is that the reason why it's probably low, is because is this backing up, this, remember we had to do some work?
I don't think that per se had an issue factored into it. That was more a problem if we had a line issue, we had to shut the bathrooms
Yeah.
down and make people go to you know,
Plus, we
use
did some
porta
maintenance,
johns.
I think we did some maintenance recently on the bathrooms or something about the plumbing or something.
Well, we did the
Sewer line,
partitions.
Sewer line
Was
work
it sewer? It's like
coming
a sewer line, that's what I thought. Was sewer
Yeah,
line.
they've done work on it multiple times to clear it. What the project will do is they're gonna regrade the line, like put a new line down.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, I was talking about, yeah.
And
It's in the
that's a common thing. I
CIP.
know Mills River had to go back and
Yeah,
do theirs at their park
Yeah.
just within the last
And that's out of their
year.
control, that's one of these things,
Yeah.
they got graded
Yeah.
for that, that's.
I
out of their
don't
control.
think that played, or I think it was a very, if
Okay.
anything, a small part of it. I think it's just going in there, you know, is the paper towels overflowing, you know, the stalls, urinals,
Right.
that kind of stuff in
Depends on the last person in
decent
there.
order. Yeah.
That's what
It's out of their control.
That kind of stuff. But maybe a little bit, but I don't think it was a major one. But overall, I mean, you tell me how you think parks look, but I generally, I think they're doing a good job keeping up on the appearance, of the park or maintenance on it. And there's gonna be things we need to continue to monitor, to make sure we maintain that at a high level. But yeah, the Parks and Rec Advisory Board worked on that, and then I asked for that from Josh. So that's Parks and Rec, and then, the next is he kind of put it in a dashboard format, almost like the chief did theirs for planning and zoning. And so permitting, you know, the basic like zoning permits within a 3-day goal to have those turned over, or at least in process, and average is 1 day, so we hit that 100%, and there's 46 permits issued. The code enforcement, that's a more challenging one. We're hitting it at 23.8 days is the average for compliance, and 60 days is our goal. Because those take time, I mean, you know, yeah, I mean, you all hear about some of our more challenging ones, or ones that get more attention, because you'll hear a complaint from, you know, a resident about directly to you, or someone else that gets to you, or, Tyler has done a good job jumping on those and working the cases. We've got 8 closed and 5 open right now. So, you know, if you get a hold of people, most times they're responsive, and unless it's a big mess there, they get it cleaned up. But I tell you, these code enforcement cases, they're all over the place, like the stories or what's going on, the people's lives, it's a lot of challenging interpersonal stuff there to, you know, be firm but compassionate with what some folks are dealing with in their lives and maintaining their property. Development review, so our review, we had 30-day industry standards for the review on that. Our average days per review was at 5.4, and our goal was 12 days. So we're 12 days is a max for the review, at 5.4, well under that. And these are major reviews, like a major subdivision or a special use permit, which takes a lot more time to work on. And there's not as many of those, but permit fees, just if you're curious, $1,600 coming in. Development fees, this is including the fee in lieu of, if you're not familiar with that. Yeah, so a developer, like we have a requirement, they have to put sidewalks in front of commercial businesses, and if it doesn't make sense to do it, they can pay a fee in lieu of payment, and it goes into that restricted fund balance that can go towards greenway trails or sidewalks somewhere else. So we had 28,000 in there, and then civil penalties, none. Permits by type, you can see the largest is 12, is residential at 12, commercial a little bit fewer at 11. Signs, which is something we do too, at 11. Tenant change at 6. And then accessory structures, 9. and floodplain 4. And then he broke out code enforcement cases by type, so if you're curious what types these code enforcement, solid waste is always the biggest. It's a little bit more broad in interpretation. At 3, we have a junk vehicle ordinance. You can't keep more than 2 on the property, and we have these special determinations if it's tagged, is it operable, things like that, that falls into junk vehicle on the property. So 2 in that case. No zoning permit, 1, non-conforming sign, 1, non-conforming use at 2, and then stormwater IDDE is illicit discharge. I forget what the DE did, but it's illicit discharge issue. We had one, probably most notable one, the new car wash up here. They were, instead of discharging their wastewater into the sewer, basically, well, this recirculation system, and then I think whatever they can't reuse or recycle goes into, like sanitary sewer. They were discharging some into a drainage ditch there, and I don't know, Tyler figured out the major disconnect, but they fixed that, so that was probably our worst one that I've seen in a while. Yeah. And then development review by type, and this is whether planning board's involved or just administrative staff. So you see most of these are by, and it's dictated by what the land development code says. So 6 by the administrative staff, planning board only at 4, ZBA at 1, and planning board and council at 3. And yeah, our land development code kind of dictates who does what on that. So that's kind of run through on everything the last 6 months. So thanks for the feedback on some of that.
Yeah, really well done. What, any questions, comments? Yeah, well done by everybody.
Yeah, thank you. I'll let them know.
And then we will move into our next discussion item, the update on the Cane Creek Greenway extension.
Yeah, and this one's behind right now. It's really hoping to be talking to you soon about, probably would have been late summer. Well, we're getting into late summer, early fall for full design on it, and maybe getting close to bidding, but I asked McGill to do an updated timeline on it, and I won't walk through every step. You got a copy in your packet to see the timeline. It's basically been pushed back several months, and the biggest reason is we're still working on our easement and easement on the Fernleaf property, and then a potential deeding over of a section of property along the creek on Charlie Owen's property, the Sirocco. They're both on board. They've been surveyed. We've had to go back and forth. Like I had it surveyed, and Mr. Owen wanted it back further to the creek. We had a little bit further south into the field than he was comfortable, and so we've had that fixed. We've got the plat, and then we had to make some other changes. So it's just this, we're getting very close, but this back and forth between us making corrections, the landowner being comfortable with it before we can get it finalized and say, and they won't approve the permits on this that McGill has to work on until they know the landowner is given an easement or deeded over a section of property to the town. So that's held this up. That's been the biggest holdup. So right now, we're, potentially looking at, design and permitting, confirmation documents into potentially November to the end of almost under the calendar year. Depends on how quickly we get. We're making a lot of good progress right now. Fernleaf was okay with it, the surveyed section, and I've asked their surveyor to draw up the easement document, so that may be a quick one. We've made the corrections on the Sirocco Charlie Owens property, and we're making some tweaks, and if I get that back to him soon, he's okay with it, then we'd be potentially looking at a deeding over of a section of property there, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, if it falls on this timeline, we could be looking at, that design permitting and construction documents not until like in the November, it getting bid not until into like the end of the calendar year, into the beginning of the new year, and new construction potentially not starting till March. So I'm going to try and move this along, see if we can condense some of this back.
Yeah.
It depends on the easements. We can get that done, the easement and that deeding, then we can get the permitting process in, going a little further. And they've started the permits, we're just being held up right now because of that.
Yeah. This won't impact any of the grant monies, will it, the delay?
Good question, and I've got, so Tyler Morrow's been helping us with some of the, keeping up with the, he's reached out to them. Right now, we don't have an issue. We've got to get some of the environmental review stuff done by October, but he's followed up with them, and we're good right now.
Okay.
So, but we do got to keep this moving along.
Yeah.
Because that could be, we don't
That'd
want to
be a big issue.
jeopardize that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, right now we're good, and we just followed up on that. So unless there's any other questions, it's a big project,
It
and a
is.
lot of money dedicated to it between the grants and then potential appropriations from like unassigned fund balance on it, so anyways.
Any other questions, comments there? Well, I appreciate y'all's work on that. It is a big project, so.
Yeah,
appreciate
I mean,
y'all.
it's an exciting one, and I'm just glad we got a design and we got a route here, and so we're gonna hopefully get this along here so we can get it finally designed and bid soon,
It's exciting.
relatively soon, yeah.
All right, I'm moving into your town manager's
Okay,
report.
thank you. On the town center project, I know I've emailed you all some updates on this with our conversations with the different groups. I shared with you our meeting with Lewis Real Estate Group, which, they're the one that's had the most experience and do have capacity to re-engage here. What they've suggested is they want to hire a land planner to update basically like master plan of, and it updates marketability of what some of the uses they think they can get. They've been meeting with them right now. They think within the next 2 weeks they can get an estimate from them and then put a budget and a timeline together for how they think they can do that. Y'all have to be comfortable with this, though. If they do that, I'd want them to come back and talk to y'all as a group about it, to make sure, and obviously we'll give you from staff perspective our opinion on it, but they want to then come back with a budget and a timeline and then go to like a letter of intent. Because if they're going to be doing this and paying for a lot of it, then we've got some commitment with them to work on it. But that's what they propose. I was encouraged that they haven't asked for any funding from the town to do this. They might, but right now they were talking about them paying for this and doing that. And it probably does, from a marketability standpoint, some type of update. We have our wish list and dream list on it. And not that we want to veer greatly from that, but it probably would be helpful to have that done. So they're working on it. I told them we wanted something back in writing and then to run it by y'all before we would engage with them. Okay. So that was the latest from them, and I just got an email from Martin Lewis about that Friday. And then I did hear back from Dan Merrill with Southeast Capital Partners, and he just emailed me last week that they've got good feedback from an anchor tenant, and then they want to bring a site plan back to us. So this is one Dewey Property Advisors too, or that we're working with. And that's really all I've got for updates, but I guess, you know, for just more feedback from a staff perspective on these meetings, even though it's going to take time and we want to move this along, we know the public, we know, y'all as elected officials would like to see, a plan in front of you, and is this something we can, work on, negotiate a deal? It probably does need some updated review with a reputable land use planning that has done other projects that have been built to say, yeah, this fits here, some of these uses. Let's push for that with an investor and tenants. So, is there any questions on that?
Questions?
Feedback?
Nope.
Library project, I've been continuing to communicate with the county manager on it. He just responded. I know they were getting through a lot of stuff from the budget process, and they had a lot of things happen. The large rate increase and dealing with that. But he said that I should be anticipating seeing the draft MOU within the next week. So I'm looking for that. The county has a sort of memorandum of understanding of this arrangement that we'll be working on for a joint project between the town and the county. So I heard that from the county manager just recently. He responded, because I let them know that y'all had moved that additional fund balance dedication for the library project, and so I got that response. They are an architect for the project. They've put out a request for qualifications, or RFQ, and we'll be meeting on August the 12th. They invited me to come to that meeting and participate in a ranking of the architects that submit for it. So that is moving forward.
Good news.
Good.
Yeah, it's good news, yep. So we know we're working on it. So that's all I had in the library project, unless there's any questions. And then just one other thing, left turn. There was a little bit of a sidebar discussion at the, or at least Mayor, I think you had come up to me asking about, I don't know if y'all discussed this in the session, or I just had a conversation with you.
I think we talked about it in.
Did you? Okay.
In the meeting, yeah.
Well, anyways, I just wanted to let you know, the intersection up here at Old Airport Road and 25, the Ingalls, the intersection there that turns left into the Ingalls parking lot. We had the accident history with the flashing yellow and very limited solid green turn movement, green arrow movement. They made some adjustments for times of the day that did help, but we're still getting more accident activity than we're comfortable with. And so I did approach Steve Buchanan, the division traffic engineer. He did ask for more data, and the police are working on that, our police department, to submit to them. Hopefully that helps. But, our request is to try and get solid, dedicated, movement in there, like only a solid
I just
green
don't see
arrow.
anybody get severely
Yeah.
hurt or
Yeah.
killed.
I mean, there may be some times a day, really early in the morning or really late at night where a flashing yellow is fine, because you have very
Yeah.
limited traffic. But, when any of that busy time in the morning to midday to even, early evening.
It's not safe.
When that turn lane's coming at you, all you see are those vehicles,
Yeah,
and it's extremely limited.
Yeah.
And I've just seen a lot of near misses up there.
Yeah.
that just-
It's
Yeah.
like close your eyes and go.
Oh, yeah.
yeah. I mean, you gotta gun it through there. So, that's in process right now, just so y'all know.
Very good.
That's all I had.
All right, well, thank you, Mark, for your
Yep,
update.
thank you.
Any other business from council? All right, got a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Keith, motion. You want to make a second? Yeah, there we go. Motion and a second to adjourn. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of adjourn, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? We are adjourned.
Officially on Friday.
You on track? Yeah, I could talk to them.